President Biden lashed out at reporters yesterday during a press conference after one journalist asked a question regarding Biden's connections with his son Hunter Biden's associates. Let's take a listen.
President Biden, on Ukraine and also China, there's polling by the Associated Press that shows that almost 70% of Americans, including 40% of Democrats, believe that you acted either illegally or unethically in regards to your family's business interests. Can you explain to the Americans, amid this impeachment inquiry, why you interacted with so many of your son and brother's foreign business associates?
I'm not going to comment on that. I did not, and it's just a bunch of lies.
You didn't interact with many of their business associates?
I did not. There's lies.
The outburst follows revelations by House Oversight Committee Chair James Comer. He claims show a direct financial connection between the president and Hunter's business entities. Republicans were quick to respond to Biden, reposting a CNN report claiming just that.
Despite his denials, a CNN review of the laptop data as well as other public material shows that Joe Biden did interact with some of his son's associates while serving as vice president, though it's unclear exactly what was discussed.
The investigation into Biden's connections with his son's business dealings come as Republicans recently launched an impeachment inquiry into the president. The GOP has twice now attempted to subpoena Hunter for a closed-door deposition, both of which he has seemingly refused, as friend of the show Phil Wegman posted on Twitter. Comer, alongside House Judiciary Committee Chair Jim Jordan, threatened Hunter with contempt of Congress proceedings should he fail to appear. Democrats have attempted to paint Jordan and Comer's efforts as hypocritical in the face of repeated refusals by the former to heed subpoenas related to January 6th. Congressman Jamie Raskin of Maryland tweeted, "Hunter Biden will answer questions under oath in front of the world, but unless he testifies in secret so he can be misquoted, Representative James Comer will hold him in contempt. What a joke." Jim Jordan blew off his subpoena. Comer doesn't want the truth and can't handle it.
I mean, it does seem to me that the testimony should be public at this point. I don't know what there is to shield. You know, you would normally do this thing behind closed doors if the person maybe doesn't have as much public notoriety and has some legitimate privacy interest. I'm not saying Hunter Biden has no privacy interest, but a lot of his private stuff has been, for all the world to see at this point. So I think, to be fair to him, so that Republicans or Democrats or anyone else involved in that meeting can't mischaracterize what he says, it should just be in public.
Yeah, I mean, importantly here, Hunter is happy for it to be public. So to the extent that anyone has a privacy interest to protect or who has the ability to waive that, it's Hunter. So it does seem very suspicious if conservatives only want to talk to him in private. And it's hard to find any other rationale for why they would want to do so other than what these Democrats here are saying, which is that they want an opportunity to mischaracterize what he said.
Yeah, it looks, and it's so incongruous from, what they're claiming about the January 6th footage. Just release it, let people be able to see it. So, we don't trust the government's verdict of it. Well, look, that applies to Republican officials and Democratic officials. Don't do things in secrecy behind closed doors. Let the people know and decide for themselves. Ultimately, we'd rather these be political questions. If we decide Hunter Biden or Joe Biden's judgment is compromised or his financial situation is suspect, that the voters ought to know about that. And obviously, if he broke some law, he could be prosecuted just like Donald Trump's being prosecuted in 4 different jurisdictions. But ultimately, these should be best left to the people, these decisions, so they need to know about it.
Yeah, I will say that there is something here that is a clear indictment of Joe Biden's ability to lead, which is that the thing that he's getting caught up on here isn't any smoking gun that connects him to a pay-for-play scheme with respect to his son's business dealings, but simply that he went too far, the way he sometimes does, and he's an exaggerator, a fabulist, who said, well, I have no contact with my son's business dealings, that I've never talked to any of my son's business people on the phone, and I've never done. So he had made this maximalist defense of himself that was easy to prove wrong. And so now Republicans are saying, well, you lied about this aspect of it. You were on a call. Was it a material call? No. Do you have a material connection? No. But if something's there, then maybe there's something more there. And, I'm frankly am very skeptical that there is something more there. But Joe Biden got himself into this mess because he can't stick to the facts. He has lied about these kind of personal things. He's lied about things with much more national, global relevance. like the 40 beheaded baby story, even though, as we now know from reporting last week, his own staff members advised him not to include that in his speech. And he is doing so in a way that is getting, it has significant geopolitical consequences. We also saw the clip of Antony Blinken kind of reacting when at the end of the Chinese diplomatic visit, he called Xi a dictator. I mean, those are the kinds of
That's not a lie,
issues.
but it's a faux pas.
Sure, it's a faux pas, but
it's truth, but
he is imprecise. He is not conscious of the implications of what he is saying. He seems to lack the ability to be forward-thinking and strategic in the words that he uses. And I think that is the bigger indictment here than anything the Republicans are going to find on paper as it pertains to this alleged pay-for-play relationship.
His presidential aspirations began with him plagiarizing a speech from a British political figure and misleading the public about it. That was most people's first knowledge of the name Joe Biden, unless you lived in his state, comes from that. So it's not surprising at all. It's funny at the time where we're like taking unprecedented steps to expel a member of Congress, George Santos, for very colorful, fraudulent, for lies that he's admitted to. But of course, we'd have to expel a lot more than just George Santos for those kind of serial fabrications. They include Joe Biden himself. I think it's also important to remember how not everyone in the media, but certain media outlets ran a lot of cover for Joe Biden on the Hunter Biden issue. Of course, the laptop story was deemed not credible, essentially by national security experts who gave a kind of cautious statement. They left themselves an out, saying that this looked like Russian disinformation. Politico totally lost that distinction when they published the letter from these national security experts. Politico ran with it that no, this was all illegitimate. The Washington Post, Glenn Kessler, your favorite, he did some fact check of claims about Hunter Biden that's now had to be corrected. Like his fact check has been checked even in the article for the Washington Post a bunch of times where it says, well, actually that person was at that dinner. Well, actually this did happen this way. Actually it did happen this way. And that's why people wonder if there's more to it. But Republicans have to put up or shut up.
Yeah. And are there going to be diminishing returns? Have they stepped in it? Have they overreached? If they're now in a position where Democrats have a slam dunk argument, you want a closed door meeting so that you can misrepresent the president's son. I don't know that I want to be in that position. They were better off with the ambiguity, with the insinuations, with the implications. And the closer they get, it again feels like one of these, what happens when the dog catches the tire scenarios.
All right. More Rising right after this.